Welcome to Power Podcast with Queen Beauté, where mindset meets transformation. Each episode invites you to awaken your mind, expand your perspective, and rise into your power. Today, we're exploring blind spots. How does awareness begin? What would you say to that? Typically, we have some sort of experience that brings something to our attention, perhaps something that we hadn't noticed before, but now we do. Awareness is fundamental because it's the starting point of powerful shifts. It's where powerful shifts begin. If you're not even aware of something, how can you make meaningful progress towards improving it? If you're not even aware, how can you make progress? So you have to start with awareness. Blind spots. This is our focus today. Is what do we do with blind spots? We'd like to ideally eliminate all blind spots. That's a tall order. We could at least work towards eliminating as many of them as possible. How do we do that? Awareness. We have to become aware of our blind spots. Let's say you are just learning to drive a vehicle, a car. When do you learn about the blind spots of a car? Maybe somebody told you there are blind spots in cars. Perhaps you learned the hard way yourself. Maybe something came out of your blind spot, shocked you, caught you by surprise. You're like, oh, snap. I didn't even see that. Where did that come from? That can happen to us in regular life too, where we can become aware that we had a blind spot to something when either somebody tells us or we find out maybe unpleasantly on our own. I've got some stories for you today around blind spots, my own, those of others. Here is the first story, and it's about me. A blind spot that I had, and I had no idea. I had no idea, and when it was brought to my attention, I was shocked. Shocked, I tell you. All right, once upon a time, I was texting on the phone, getting to know someone new to see how things would go, whether we got along, if things were going to advance to a relationship. So I was just talking to somebody. One day, I remember I was at the gym and I think I sent him a text or a voice note. I don't remember which one it was, but he said something and then I said something and then he said, "Dang, why can't you take a compliment?" So I was shocked for a couple reasons. I didn't even know what he said. It didn't even register in my mind that he gave me a compliment. It didn't even register. And I'm going to choose to believe that he gave me a genuine compliment, that it wasn't some weird convoluted thing. And then if you dig really deeply and you look in the dark crevice, you can find a compliment in there. I'm going to choose to believe that it was a regular compliment. It was straightforward, a regular compliment. It wasn't like a backhanded comment or sarcasm. It was just a straight up compliment. But I didn't hear it. I did not hear it because I didn't even remember what he said. Even to this day, I cannot remember what that man said. I can't even remember what he said. But what I do remember is when he said, "Dang, why can't you take a compliment?" Because I thought, what compliment? What do you mean? So he played it back for me because this had just happened. He played it back for me. He said, "Well, I said this, and then you said this." And then it was like, "Oh, right. He did say this, and I did say that. Wow. Wait a minute." So we're gonna pause in the story right here to get into how blind I was when it came to taking compliments. I'm just gonna focus on that. We're gonna get really narrow. We're gonna get really narrow because if we go down the list of all the blind spots we've ever had and then become aware, we'll be here all day. What I responded to him was a normal response for me. So this wasn't a one-time thing where someone gave me a compliment and I didn't take it well. So I might have said something, for example, if someone says, "You're a beautiful woman." Oh, no, I'm not. That's an example of somebody not taking a compliment or not taking it well, is you immediately shut it down. You cancel out any positivity that was coming your way. You cancel out the energy, the good intentions. You put up your hand like it's a big old stop sign and go, nope, wrong, rejected, deflected, compliment not received when you don't take a compliment well. So I was used to doing this. This is why I didn't pay it any mind at the time. It was a habit for me. It was a natural reaction to either self-efface or to disagree or to do in some kind of way deflect or shut down a compliment. So when I did it with him, I didn't pay it any mind until he said, "Dang, why can't you take a compliment?" No one had ever said that to me before. Had I heard compliments before? Sure. Did they ever register? Sometimes. But when he said that part, it was like, huh? When did the compliment happen? And when did I not take it well? When was this? Again, he played it back for me. And since he had just said it, it was like, oh, right, you did just say that. And I did say that. Oh, so that was a turning point for me. It's so weird sometimes how our awareness can begin with something. It could be something some nobody says that makes you go, wait a minute. You sound like you're onto something. Let me dive deeper. I can't even remember that man's name. Can't even remember his name. Don't even remember what he looks like. Don't remember if I saw his picture. I think we hadn't met in person yet. I don't know if I had seen his picture or if I even knew what he looked like. No name. But I remember that comment because that comment was an awakening for me. I had to dig and ask myself, why is that? Why do I say that? I mean, things didn't go anywhere with this guy, but thank you to whoever he was for being the catalyst because now I am aware. I mean, that was years ago, but I became aware of it in that moment. And then I sought to fix it going forward. And I have. So to anyone out there listening, if you can't take a compliment, here's step number one. Response number one. I'm not going to go through like 10 steps. I'm not going to go through many steps. I'm just going to give you this one. All right. You can use just this one. When somebody gives you a compliment, you say, thank you. And that's it. Don't say anything else. Resist. Okay? Practice restraint. Shush. All right? Shh. Nothing else. You just say, thank you. Don't be out here saying thank you in any crazy ways now. Like, thank you, or thank you. Don't be weird. All right? Don't do it. Don't do that to yourself. Give a normal, intentional thank you. Just like that. Thank you. Okay? That's it. That's it. Whether, and this is regardless of if you agree, regardless if it's a genuine compliment. A genuine compliment. Wow, you're incredible. That was so thoughtful. I love that outfit. It's so pretty. That color looks great on you. Wow, you're tall and magnificent. No matter what the compliment is, I mean, no matter whether you agree. Thank you. That's it. That's it. Don't mess with it. Don't do anything else. All right? That's how you take a compliment. Is you just say thank you. Maybe in a later episode, I'll talk about self-esteem and how I specifically worked through this, but it involved acceptance and recognition. Those are the main things that led me to making change. Is I became aware of it. It was a blind spot that I had because I had been saying self-effacing or negative things about myself long before that, for a long time up to that point. But after that point, that's when the shift changed. So I'm glad this person, whose name I cannot for the life of me recall, thank you for bringing that to my attention. Thank you for bringing that to my attention, because I was not serving myself. By not being able to take a compliment, I was not serving myself. Woo, we'll have to get into it at a later time. Let's talk about other examples of blind spots and then awareness. Well, here's a I can't believe I'm mentioning this again, but I mentioned this in the Mobilizing Regrets episode. The spit talker. That one. Clearly, he was not aware. I think he was not aware. I don't think he was aware and then doing it maliciously. I think he just was, he was blind in that regard, just unaware, couldn't see how the person he was speaking to was reacting differently, couldn't read the signals, couldn't see the spittle coming out. He just, and I wasn't the one to tell him, unfortunately. Shame on me. I wasn't the one to tell him to point out this blind spot for him. Here's hoping somebody did. Here's another example. So I worked at a high school. It turned out to be the only high school that I'd ever worked at for the entire school year. Unprecedented for me. It hasn't happened since. I have not stayed anywhere else for an entire school year. I started at this particular school the second day of school. It was just because of the timing of my TB test. I had gotten hired a few days before school started, and then with the TB test, having to do it, it's like 48, 72 hours, and then the first day of school was in that range, so I started on the second day of school, but I still call that the whole school year, and I was there all the way until the end. All right, so there was a teacher who was expected to start after me. She started about 6 weeks after I did. Before that, She just had subs covering her classes. She had the math department chair, was usually the person who would teach actual math lessons, and then substitutes would, I guess, hand out worksheets, whatever they were doing. All right, so this woman didn't start in the beginning of the school year. I didn't know her. I didn't know anything about her. Nobody else knew anything because no one else had worked with her before. I liked this woman. She was nice. She was friendly. She was the kind of math buddy that I liked. However, I didn't like the way she smelled. No, I'm not talking about she had on too much perfume or it was an unflattering scent. It was B to the O. B to the O. Body odor. It was straight up body odor. Body odor smells totally different from body wash, shampoo, perfume. Okay. I think we all can agree. I hope we could all agree there is a difference. You can tell if it's body odor or if it's something else. Body odor. At first, I didn't say anything. It was tough to go into her classroom because her entire classroom smelled like it. It was that bad. It wasn't just, if you're standing really, really close to them, then you smell it. But if you're a few feet away, you don't smell it. No. Her entire classroom would smell like BO. Her BO. Hers, not the funky teenagers. Not any funky teenagers. It was her specifically because it was always the same. It was the same when I was next to her versus what her whole class smelled like. It wasn't two different BOs. Like, oh, it must have been kids that just came from gym. Sometimes it's them, sometimes it's her. No, it was always her. Maybe there was also some kids, but her, anyway, it was her smell that filled the entire class. It was a challenge for me to go into her classroom, but sometimes she had stuff in there or she was in there, and it was easier to ask about her stuff instead of having her bring it to my class. Keep in mind, my class was right next to hers. We had adjacent rooms. I just preferred nobody being in my class. And I also didn't want her to bring the stinky into my class. Yes, I said it. I did not want her to bring the stinky into my class. Because I ain't want my class to smell like that. So that's another reason I would go to her class. And I would hope it wouldn't stick to me. I'm just being real. So I would go to her classroom. It was always funky. I wasn't sure if she was aware and just didn't care, or if she didn't know, but did she do something about it? So I went back and forth. It took me a while before I said something. I endured the discomfort for too long. For too long. I finally thought, well, clearly nobody else is saying anything because nothing's changed. I feel like I'm close enough with her that if I approach it maybe the right way, she might hear me and do something about it. All right, so I don't think anyone else had said anything because nothing changed for this too long of a period of time where I was smelling, and I know I was not the only one. One day, she was in my class. Rare, because like I said, I did not want her to bring the stinky into my class. So I got her at the end of the day. I don't remember exactly what I said, but I did say clearly enough that her classroom smelled, and I thought that it was because of her. I did say that clearly enough. I didn't want to go the route because I've been there, done that. where you kind of want to beat around the bush. You don't want to say it directly because you don't want to hurt somebody's feelings, or you don't want to come off like rude or mean. So you kind of want to go kind of hint around it and hope that they get the hint and hope that they figure it out. Nah, no, no more hoping. No more hoping. We just got to straight up say it. We just got to straight up say it, because not everybody's going to get it. If you're beating around the bush and you're trying to say it in some kind of backwards way, not everybody's going to get it. And so what are you doing then? You're not communicating clearly. Later episode, communication. Anyway, I was clear enough. Let me tell you what I did not say. I did not say, dang, you funky and your class is always funky. Fix it. I did not. I did not say that. I just expressed concern, and I was willing to see what was going to happen. Oh boy. So she was a little bit concerned, like this was news to her. Based on her reaction, this was news to her. It wasn't, oh, it's normal for me or my culture, and I don't think it's that bad or a big deal. It was like, really? Me? So she was curious enough. Let's go, math person. She was curious enough to ask me, what did I think it was? Exactly. And I just said, I think it's just something with your body that maybe you weren't aware of. And I wanted to let you know, because it's unpleasant. Yo, she dug in though. She's like, well, what part of my body do you think? I think I can read people pretty well. She was serious. She wasn't playing around. She wasn't trying to get me to be rude or anything. She was really concerned, like, oh, well, what part of me do you think it is? Maybe she thought it was her breath or under her arms or her feet or who knows. But she really wanted to get to the bottom of it. And I refused. Come on. I did have an idea. I did have an idea of which part of her body it was, but I dare not say, I dare not reveal. Oh, no way. No, no, no. So I didn't tell her which part. And I said, I don't want to guess. I just wanted to let you know. And then she said something like, oh, well, I shower every day and I put on deodorant. And I thought, wow. Wow. Because it doesn't smell like it. No, I didn't tell her that. I didn't tell her that. I didn't tell her that. I just thought that sounds like a reasonable formula. That sounds like a reasonable recipe. How not to be funky. Shower daily, wear deodorant. That sounds reasonable, right? And yet, here we were, funky every day. And it wasn't even just at the end of the day. I think that was something else that she even asked. She's like, oh, at the end of the day, and I'm kind of sweaty throughout the day. I said, no, it'll be in the beginning too. I've noticed in the beginning, like when we're in the meetings in the morning. Yeah, it'll be in the morning too. So I didn't want her to think it was just, hey, it's natural. We all get sweaty by the end of the day and we tend to get a little funky. No, no, not all of us. No, 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 no. Hold up. You come in here like that. You come in here like that. So anyway, she wanted to know in detail about this blind spot that she had, something that she just was not aware of. Maybe she was nose blind to it. Don't know, but I'll tell you what happened. She did something about it. She did something about it, because starting the next day, I kid you not, she was no longer funky. No longer. Abolished. Funk be gone. It was gone. Because I checked a couple of times, like, oh, do I want to go in her class? I know how it normally is. Nope. No more funky. So whatever it was that she used to do, she did something else, and that took care of it. I was so proud of her too. I didn't tell her. I didn't want to make it a bigger deal. Because when I first told her, I didn't want it to be, hey, I gotta talk to you about something really serious. You're gonna have to sit down for this one, but not too long. Don't sit in my chair. No, I stop. I didn't want to approach it that way. I wanted it to keep it light so that she wouldn't take it too hard. Like she would hear me, but it wouldn't come off as this like big dramatic performance. That's one recommendation I have for feedback. When you want to give somebody feedback but you got to wrap it into some other things too. You can't just be you telling them they funky and then that's that. So anyway, I was so proud of her. I didn't want to tell her. You know what? She did ask. I think it might have been sometime in the next week after. At some point, she had asked me if it was still there, and I said, no, it's gone. It's gone. And then I just went back to talking about math. I didn't want to linger like the funk used to do. I didn't want to linger. Okay. I can laugh about it because I have a similar story, and I'm going to get to it. I'm going to get to it because it needs to be shared. It needs to be shared because perhaps it'll change someone else's life. Okay, so she did something about it, and I was so proud of her. And I was proud of myself. Come on, can I get a pat on the back? Because had I not said anything, who knows? Who knows how much longer? I'm sure the students probably were talking about her because you know how kids are. Students probably talking about her, faculty probably talking about her because of the smell. It was that bad. It was that bad. But she turned it around. I would be so grateful if I was perhaps nose blind to me being funky, that somebody brought it to my attention. That way I could fix it because I would feel embarrassed, because I don't want to smell bad. Now, if I didn't care about smelling bad, then that's not a blind spot because I'm aware and I don't care. But if I'm not aware and I become aware and I care, that's when we can have transformation. Okay, when was I funky? As a child, at some point in middle school, my stepmother, I don't remember what happened before, how it came up. Maybe she just did a quick drive-by on my room and was like, you smell like piss. But that's basically what she said. Her nose was scrunched up how she said it too. It was like, ugh, like disgusting. So I don't know if she said I needed to clean my room or clean my body or my clothes or all of the above. But I remember she told me I smelled like pee. She didn't say this room smells like pee. She didn't say these clothes smell like pee. She said, you, Queen, smell like pee. I smelled like pee. And the thing is, I didn't know. I didn't know. How old was I? 11 or 12? I didn't know. I didn't think, oh, I'm walking around smelling like pee. Oh, well. Or I'm walking around smelling like pee. Oops, I hope nobody can tell. I didn't know. I was walking around smelling like pee. I don't know if it was just that day, but from the feeling that I recall it sounded like she was saying it was a normal thing, that it wasn't just, hey, today you smell rancid. It seemed like you regularly smell like this and you need to fix it because I'm sick of it. That's how it came out. I don't even know what I did after that. I don't know if I changed anything. She never said anything like that again. And I didn't have people say anything to me. Maybe I changed it, maybe I didn't. I just remember how big a blind spot that was to me. And I was blindsided. Like, what do you mean I smell like pee? I didn't know. I hope I did something about it. I'm pretty sure at this point, like my nose is pretty fine-tuned with checking myself. Maybe because of that very moment. Then I spiraled in and got extra nose sensitive. Like, never again will I be the one. Because I remember there was a girl in my class. So, middle school was when we were all in one classroom and the teachers would rotate in and out. So, we was with the same students all day. There was one girl that I remember kids used to make fun of because they said she smelled like pee. And I remember being disgusted, like, ew, you smell like pee. And yet here I was. How long was I smell like pee too? Like, did I smell like pee more than her? And nobody wanted to tell me because I was cool or what? It's not cool to smell like pee, but I don't even know what to say. I just remember when it was somebody else, it was, oh yeah, that's gross. But then when it was me, I couldn't even see it. Maybe for you, it's not, oh, do you smell like pee today? Or have you ever smelled like pee? But was there something that you noticed in others, but that you didn't notice in yourself? Awareness is super weird like that sometimes, where you can be highly attuned to other people's blind spots, but maybe not even see that you have that same blind spot. Isn't that crazy? Sometimes we need someone else or we need something shocking to happen to bring our awareness to this part of our lives, to this part of our characters, before we can actually do something about it. Sometimes when we notice a blind spot in others and we don't reveal it to them, we use that to our advantage, not the part that we didn't reveal it to them, but just, oh, let me check that in myself. Here's another personal example. I was in kindergarten. I remember this because this incident was life-changing for me. Kindergarten, so what are we, like 5? There was a boy whose company I enjoyed. One day, he came to school with really chapped lips, and it scared me. I was a child. It scared me. I was afraid of his lips. Scared, okay? Frightened of his lips because they were so bad. It was like, what's that? I didn't like him no mo. I tell you that. I didn't like that boy no mo. No more on my like list. From that point going forward, I would make sure to check my own lips to make sure they weren't scary like his. I didn't tell him. I don't think I told him. I don't remember telling him and the fallout or anything of what happened. I don't think I told him. I think I was too scared and I wasn't thinking about telling him. I just wanted to get away. Chapped lips, y'all. You hear me? Chapped lips. So growing up, because of that, chapped lips, I just was a hard no. Was a hard no. My kids, them growing up, if their lips were chapped, it made me angry. It made me angry. Like, why would you let it get to that? I always had them drinking water and putting on Vaseline. Put some Vaseline on them lips. Where's your chapstick? You need it. Use it. Because of what happened to me in kindergarten, chapped lips, can't do it. Can't do it. So I feel my lips are chapped. I gotta fix it because I'm feeling really self-conscious then. It's like, oh, hold on. I'm feeling it. Let me look in the mirror. Let me see. Hold on. It's looking a little. That's an example of using somebody else's blind spot to my advantage in a way, not using it against them. You know what I mean? Where making sure that's not a blind spot for me. Sometimes that's how it goes. It's you see this blind spot in others, and then you look at yourself and wonder if you have that same blind spot. Have you been aware of your lips? Have you been aware of your body odor? Have you been aware of XYZ? Other times, we see the blind spot in others, and we have that same blind spot and don't know. Don't know. Some of us just don't look at ourselves the same way that we look at others. But it's by looking at ourselves. Look at yourself. You can look down at all of your limbs in your body. You can look in a mirror at your reflection. You can look at yourself. You can close your eyes and look inside yourself to see if you have a blind spot in that same area. And if you do you want to do something about it? Once you become aware, will you care? What's an area where you could use more clarity through awareness? Is it something physical? Maybe you've noticed in others and you hadn't really thought about in yourself. If you turn that vision inward, how do you feel about what you see? A big thing in awareness is our mindset. I think it's easy to see blind spots that are physical. Something like the way you smell or the way you dress or the way that you speak. I think those things are easier to see and identify. Mindset, though, manifests in all the ways we move through life. Mindset, since you know that's my focus. Mindset, how do we become aware that we have some kind of destructive or non-empowering mindsets? Maybe we come across it on our own. Maybe somebody points it out to us. Would you address a blind spot with mindset the same way you would if it were something physical? Perhaps a blind spot for you is considering the nature of reality. Maybe a blind spot for you is how much optimism you have in your life. There was a woman, a friend, I think I might have met her at a job. Pretty sure. Met her at a job, maybe it was at some call center. This was some years ago. I didn't realize the ratio of positive to negative thoughts that I had in my own mind, but I definitely recognized it in her because I swear it felt like she was always negative. Always. Every time she said something, it was either mean or negative. Well, I mean, that's mean is negative, but it just seemed like nonstop. And it was so bad that it caught my attention. Now I'm so attuned to the frequencies of negativity. I'm so sensitive to it now. It's not going to take somebody being 100% toxic for me to be like, oh, ew, ew, stay away. Now it's like, it's just a little vibration of it. I go, whoa, that's too much. Wait a minute. I'm only going to tolerate so much here. Hold on. Fundamentally, that little bit right there is actually not a little bit. That's a big deal. And I am not going to put up with it. That's different now. Let's go back to this other time. So, it was such a drain talking to her, listening to her, hanging out with her. I was trying to be more sociable and I was trying to make friends in like weird, awkward ways. I don't know why I even put up with her, but it got to a point. I think I said something, but I was not yet strong enough in my feedback where, I mean, I wasn't even clearly articulated yet at that point with what I wanted to have around me. It was just, dang, man, you always saying something negative. I think that was as far as it went. It wasn't, and that doesn't resonate with me, therefore I'm out. Like I didn't have that part yet. It was just, why you always negative? And I don't even remember what she said. And I think I don't remember what she said because I didn't believe it. I thought it was some nonsense. I I don't know if that was a blind spot for her because I think the feeling I got was she didn't care when I brought it to her attention. It's like she didn't care. Like it wasn't a big deal or it wasn't as bad as I said. It didn't seem meaningful to her at all that I mentioned it. So I think it was not a blind spot to her that she was content with being that way. But I think what was a blind spot was that being that way is not self-serving. That doesn't serve you, that doesn't serve others. That part, I think she was blind to. Being dug into, well, this is just how I am, that can be tough. When you want to communicate with someone, when you're hoping for something better for them, but they don't want that for themselves, we could call that a blind spot. We could. Do we know best? What's best for someone else? Maybe, maybe not. Is it possible, though, that you could have valuable information that could transform someone, that could elevate someone to a better version of themselves? Yeah, I think it's still worthwhile to point these things out in a tactful way. It's worthwhile to point these things out to people because of that. You could help them transform into a better version of themselves. What about for yourself? Do you want to recognize, do you want to address a blind spot in order to become a better version of yourself? Think on that, and I'll leave you with this insight. Powerful shifts begin when we address our blind spots. Thank you for listening to Power Podcast with Queen Beauté, because transformation begins the moment your mind awakens to its power.